It's almost like I feel a little guilty because I'm starting so late today. But I guess I'm not, because I wanted to definitely take my time with this particular reflection. I mean, after all, that's why it's called a reflection, so that we can reflect and not rush, not move too fast, and really think about it. Because, when I think about today and I think about today's text and what I read in Exodus chapter 31, verse 3, was really powerful. In fact, I still have it up. I'm going to play a portion of what it's about.
Exodus 31. Then the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills, to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and to engage in all kinds of crafts. Moreover, I have appointed Aholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, to help him. Also I have given ability to all the skilled workers to make everything I have commanded you: the tent of meeting, the ark of the covenant law, with the atonement cover on it, and all the other furnishings of the tent, the table and its articles, the pure gold lampstand, and all its accessories, the altar of incense, the altar of burnt offering and all its utensils, the basin with its stand, and also the woven garments, both the sacred garments for Aaron, the priest, and the garments for his sons when they serve as priests, and the anointing oil and fragrant incense for the holy place. They are to make them just as I commanded you."
Wow. This is it's so deep and so powerful, because this is God talking to Moses. Moses, like many of us, we come up with so many different excuses when God gives us an assignment or something to do. It's usually something that appears impossible. God knows us already, and I'm sure Moses began to say, but I stutter. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. What about this? What about that? What? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? For me, it does. Because I've had many situations where God has given me something that seems and appears impossible, and I begin to start thinking about, well, how am I supposed to do this? Or I don't have this. But what if this happens? And what if he doesn't? And we find ourselves in a place of a bunch of what ifs, forgetting that it's God who's giving the assignment. Think about it. The one who spoke words, and it was, "Let there be light," and there was light. But yet, it is if we have bumped our heads and have spiritual amnesia, as if we forget that it was God who saved us, God who delivered us, God who created the heavens and the earth, God who parted the Red Sea, God who gave his only begotten Son so that we might be saved. How can we forget? And many times God has placed big visions and big goals in my life, and I've seen God. I've witnessed what God can do, even with my finite ability, because I've done it. I've done it many times. I've said and I've allowed my insecurities to overtake my faith at times. And I would doubt myself sometimes. But I don't have this degree, or I did this, God, or what about my past? What would they say? What if they laugh at me? What if? God always places us in these seemingly impossible situations. And I believe mainly for one reason: to show that He is God. Because where our faith ends, God's grace begins. The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And even as I read through today's text, I can only imagine God being fed up with all of the excuses Moses kept coming up with. And although God had given him the vision, it is clear. Visionaries receive the vision, they write the vision, they make it plain, and then they release the vision. So they that read and can run with the vision. That is God's formula for success. He never means for us to do it alone or do it by ourselves. In fact, it says in His word, for it is not good for mankind to be alone. So He provides us help, and He provides us that help in the form of resources, mainly people resources. And so today I begin to consider and think about my inner circle, because I'm at a place in life where I get to form and shape who will be in and who will be out of my circle. Here's what I know: the older I get, the smaller my circle becomes. You probably heard the saying, birds of a feather, they flock together. Birds of a feather, they flock together. A leader's potential is determined by those around them. For none of us have been called to lead alone. And if a leader calls himself or herself a leader and no one's following, then they're just taking a walk. Because here's what I know: leadership is about influence, nothing more, nothing less, and everything rises and falls because of influence. That's why I created the Influencer University, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that if we're going to have successful leaders, if we're going to build influence so that we can create high performing, high impacting, and sustainable organizations that change our part of the world is going to take influence. And so those who we choose to place in our inner circle must not only be influenced by us, but they must also be able to influence us. What I also know is that no one of us is smarter than all of us. It was Mother Teresa who said, "You can do what I cannot do, and I can do what you cannot do. And together we can do great things." What a wise woman. What a wise woman. What a wise woman. She understood that in order for any of us to be successful, we have to recognize and understand our own talents and our own gifts, but also acknowledge the fact that our talents and our gifts alone won't make us successful, and we need to have the right people around us, just as the text was talking about, and God began to outline to Moses everyone who he's already given gifts to, who he's already assigned gifts to. So for me, as I begin to build this new inner circle, doesn't mean that I get rid of the old circle, but there are many people who won't make it in the new circle. So here are some of the questions that I'm asking myself as I begin to develop this new inner circle. I'm asking myself, first of all, do they have influence with others? Because I'm a leader, and it is natural that leaders are attracted to leaders. And if they're a leader, then that means they have influence, because why? Leadership is about influence. So that is the first thing I'm thinking about. Is this person influential with others? The second question I'm asking myself, what do they bring to the table? See, I'm used to having a bunch of takers at the table. But now it's time to shift the conversation, and now we need people to bring to the table a sort of potluck. As believers, we would say pot faith, I guess. So what do they bring to the table? The third question that I'm asking is, how can I add value to them? The fourth question that I'm asking myself is, how can they add value to me? And the fifth and final question, which is really important about my inner circle, is, can this individual, can this person be a positive influence on other people in my circle? In other words, we all have to be feeding each other. There has to be not just energy, but synergy. So I created a list based upon Exodus 31 and 3. And there's several different things that I see God saying to Moses, and I thought about it. I said, well, these aren't bad ideas. In fact, these are the best ideas. And so here are some of the things that God outlines for Moses as he begins to tell them, Moses, stop worrying about who's going to be in your circle. I'm not asking you to do it alone. I'm asking you to lead. So here are the things. It says that the individuals that God had chosen to help Moses, they knew God. They knew God. They had a relationship with God. And so as I created my checklist, the first thing that I'm asking, do you know God? Do you have a personal relationship with God? Which means, do you pray? Do you meditate? Are you connected spiritually? Because the second thing is, it says that the people were filled with God's Spirit. So not only should you have a relationship, but are you filled with His Spirit? The third thing is wisdom. Do you have God's wisdom? And wisdom only comes from God and through experience with God, which means you have to have been through something. There's nothing worse than someone who hasn't been through what you're going through to try to give you advice. Has that ever happened to you? You know, they become the authority or the expert and they haven't gone through anything. They haven't walked in your shoes. So that's why it's important to me, because many times in my life, many people have come to try to give me advice or try to give me information. Some of it sound like it came right off of Google, but they haven't walked in my shoes. If you really want to grow yourself, you have to know yourself. But most important than that, you want to identify a mentor, someone who can pour into you. Here's what I know. If I don't know anything else, here's what I know. There are always going to be more people needing you than feeding you. Let me say that again. There's always going to be more people needing you than feeding you. So you want to make sure that you have the right mentor in your life, someone who can not only mentor you, but that they can feed you, that they have experience, that they have wisdom. Because here's what I know. Your experience makes you an expert. See, the needy and greedy, you don't have to find them. They'll find you. But if you want someone to feed you, to help you grow, then you have to find them. Not only should they have wisdom, but they should have understanding, because not everybody can handle who you are. Not everybody can handle your story. Not everyone can even hold your story. And I'm not talking about understanding in terms of sympathy, but I'm talking about empathy. They should also have knowledge. They should be knowledgeable. This is just my checklist. I have a checklist, so this is what I'm going to be working from. But God told Moses that these individuals that He chose to help him to make sure that the vision came alive, that they had, watch this, all kinds of skills. They weren't just good at one thing, but they were good at many things. I remember when I was taking classes at HPU, Hawaiian Pacific University. I remember on the first day, the professor came in, and the first thing, it wasn't, hello, how you doing? First thing he said was, an educated man and woman or people is someone who knows a lot about one thing and a little bit about everything else. It's kind of broad and vague, but I got it. I understood what he meant. So these individuals that I choose to have in my inner circle today, I want to make sure that they have all kinds of skills. And even if they don't have those skills at the moment, that they're working towards obtaining the skills. Because see, these are some of the qualities that I have. I am always learning. I am a life learner and reader. Because leaders are readers. Leaders are learners. So I'm working on my inner circle. Here's another thing on my list. I know some people are saying, well, I ain't never gonna get to talk to him. We're talking about the inner circle. Not the middle circle, not the outer circle. There are always going to be people connected to you. I'm talking about the inner circle, those who are the closest to you. And the older I get, the smaller my circle becomes. And there are people, very few people at this moment in my very innermost circle. And I'm thinking about one right now who, she always says this one thing to me when I am bucking the system, or I want to do something different, or if I need to get it together. She'll say this one phrase: don't play no games with me. She's going to get me. Because there was a situation and I didn't want to do something, but I needed to do it, like take my medicine. And she said to me, don't play no games with me. Sweet Mom Mary, don't play no games with me. Not everybody can say that to me. Not everybody is even willing to say, don't play no games with me. But when people know you so well, you give them that permission. They have the opportunity to help you to become a better you. So don't play no games with me. Here's the last thing that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a triple H threat. A triple H threat. And when I say a triple H threat, I'm talking about one who has a head that thinks, a hand that serves, and a heart that loves. And what's also important to me as I begin to develop my inner circle is that there's clear expectations. Clear expectations to understand that we're there to coexist. Not as a convenience, not to compete, not to complete, but to complement. There should be clear expectations that we're there to coexist, not for convenience, not to compete, not to complete, but to complement. So that's all I really wanted to share, and I'm sure I'll have to go back and listen to this several times because it's a very comprehensive inner circle checklist, but we all need checklists. So I'll leave you with this. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Do better.